What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the You Glow Nurse podcast with me, your host, Fallon Lopez, registered nurse, certified health and wellness coach, and CEO of RUL, where I help empower new nurses to take back their health and healing by creating self-care strategies that boost energy and motivation. Today, on today's podcast, we have a really, really good one, y'all. I've been having so many amazing guests for season 4, and I am just so thankful for all of the wonderful nurses that have been on to share and to be real and to be honest about their purpose path and what does it mean to redirect your purpose, to redefine your purpose, and what does that look like. And y'all, it's still Hispanic Heritage Month, and we are celebrating all month long. And so don't forget to go grab your copy of Latinas in Nursing live now, and I will share that link in the show notes below. I got the opportunity to be a part of that book, so I'm so excited to share that with you all. So make sure you go grab it and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with me by getting your Latinas in Nursing book now. All right, y'all. So like I said, Season 4 has been all about purpose. Let's talk purpose. What does it mean when a nurse loses her purpose? Let's be honest. Nursing will have its ups and downs. We experience the hard things. We see some of the hardest things that anyone could see. And, burnout happens, y'all. But when it affects your view on your career choice, on who you are as a person, your purpose may feel unsure, unsteady, uncertain, even like, why did I start this nursing journey? And what I want this season to be about is just, how do we get back on track? How do we get back to our purpose path? What has God really called us to do? And how is this a ministry that we can continue to give back? What does that mean? And really, it's about the self-care. How are we treating ourselves every day? How are we prioritizing our well-being? And today's guest with me is going to be sharing more about her journey and what it means to help yourself. Because when we help ourselves, we are helping our patients even more. When we give to ourselves, when we prioritize our health and well-being, pour into our cup, we are then able to give so much more and impact more lives. And so today's guest is Mykesha Mack, also known as TheNurseHealer. I'm so excited to have my new friend on. Let me share a little bit more about her. So born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, Mykesha Mack is a certified life coach, consultant, speaker, and mental health and healing specialist. She has been called by God to empower and educate healthcare professionals to heal from toxic workplace culture, mental burnout, and their own emotional trauma. During her early stages of becoming the nurse healer, Mykesha had no clue why God would call her to such a task when she had no prior experience in the healthcare field. However, after the tragic, unexpectedly loss of her cousin, April Valentine, Mykesha's why finally made sense. Because April needlessly lost her life and voice at the hands of burnt out and unhealed healthcare professionals, Mykesha has committed to the call of helping heal the healers. She also helps healthcare organizations to increase nurse retention and patient satisfaction while creating equitable and culturally sustainable workplaces. Despite the adversity Mykesha experienced growing up in the inner city, she refused to be defined by her circumstances. Mykesha has worked with various healthcare organizations and industry leaders such as Epic, Staffing Group, Connect RN, NeoGov, and she is on a mission to help heal the world by helping heal those on the front lines. Mykesha's radiant personality and ability to unlock human potential have made her a sought-after, game-changing specialist and speaker. Her favorite saying is, "What is your life giving people permission to do?" Because she believes that our life choices and decisions to heal will speak louder than our words ever will. Please welcome Mykesha Mack to the podcast. Hey,
Hello.
friends.
Hey,
Hello,
friend.
hello.
Hey. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here.
Yay. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I just did this conference for the nurses. And healers,
Yes.
which went really well. We did the Healing the Healer brunch, essentially called Brunch and Breakthrough Healing Experience, where we brought nurses and other healthcare professionals, healers alike, together to create a safe space to really pour back into the ones who are constantly pouring out. So that went
Mm.
amazing. Like, I don't even know what words to use for it, but it went really well. So I think I'm still coming down from the high of
Oh
that.
my gosh. I can imagine. I saw everything that was happening. I was like, I wish
Yeah,
I was there. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to go
man.
to the next one. I need an
Yes,
invite to the next one. But even if it's in California, I'm gonna get my plane ticket. I'm gonna get it together and
period.
I'm shooting out there for
Come
sure. That
on.
is amazing. That is amazing. The work that you're doing, pouring into nurses and just
Yeah.
being this advocate for health and healing. Like, how did it start for you? Where does it come from? I'd love to
Yeah.
start there with you.
Yeah. So many people don't know this. They think I'm a nurse, right? We talked about that. But
Yeah.
I'm actually the nurse healer. So although I'm not a nurse physically, God has called me a nurse in the spirit. You think about what nurses do: you nurture, you help to heal, and I
Mm,
do that same thing spiritually for physical nurses and healers
mhm.
alike. And so it kind of started a few years ago when I quit my job back in 2020. I said, you know what? I'm gonna become a life coach. I'm gonna help people to heal and all of that good stuff. And then shortly after that, I saw a lot of nurse clients. They were coming in. I'm like, what's up with these nurses? It's a lot of nurses coming. I had a doctor client, and long story short, I decided, based on what my mentor suggested, hey, I'm gonna just heal the healers and focus on nurses. I also got a confirmation of prayer call that I was on. The young lady said she saw me on one side of a door, nurses on the other side of the door, and I knew it was God saying, hey, I need you to focus on nurses. I didn't know why, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but that's kind of really how it started, just choosing to start. And then when I started seeing a lot of nurses and healthcare professionals come to get healing and coaching.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
And just hearing your faith and just you talking about confirmation about something that God called you to. Like that's wonderful. Like a lot of people don't I don't know if we may experience that, being
yeah,
called to something. Like that's such a
yeah,
powerful statement. And then healing the healers. Like this is a huge thing. And I am just
right.
like so happy to just hear about what you have going on. Like, so what does it mean like to heal the healers or help heal
Right,
the healers? Like, what does
right.
that mean?
Yeah, good question. So, really helping to heal the healers looks like helping the healers to deal with their own emotional
Mm,
trauma. So, you think about
mm,
nurses and healers alike who deal with a lot of people who are facing some sort of trauma, wounds, or injuries, right? And you help typically heal them and get them back to good health. And so, healing the healers looks like doing that same thing, but more on a spiritual, emotional, and mental level.
mm.
So there are a lot of wounds emotionally that many healers have that they don't deal with. And so I like to call it like you're bleeding out emotionally. You might deal with a client that's bleeding physically, but you are, as a healer, bleeding emotionally. And we, as healing the healer, we help you to assess what's actually going on, triage you. We help you to figure out what's going
Yeah.
on, what's the level of pain emotionally, what you're actually experiencing, what you may be running from, what you are holding on to that doesn't belong to you, and actually dealing with the root of the wound and helping to heal that wound so that not only you can be better for yourself, but being better for yourself in turns you allow to be better for your patient. And so
Mm,
healing the healer looks like helping the healers to heal from their own emotional and unseen wounds,
yeah.
so that they can be better physically.
Yeah. And speaking from that side as a nurse
Yeah,
myself, just in the different practices that I've been involved in, I've been a nurse
right.
for 11 years. And
Mm,
so I've seen a few things and I know how nurses work. And
yeah,
sometimes we are so much on that go mode. I know I have
yeah,
been like
yeah,
just autopilot. You just keep going, you just keep dealing, you just keep pushing through. And that necessarily doesn't mean that you're just tough,
Yeah.
but something that may not always be a good thing, because when you just
Right.
keep pushing through, like you're kind of stuffing down, and you
Right.
can't just do that forever. Like you got to take a break. You got to take care of yourself. And nurses, we have a hard time asking for help sometimes. Like we
Yeah.
don't want to be a bother, be a burden, or like we just want to get our day over with. Like let's just keep it moving. And these are things that I've experienced, and I'm speaking from my personal like things that I've had
Mhm.
to work through as well.
Mhm.
Um so it's just interesting that you say like, okay, healing the healers, mostly it's an emotional,
Mhm.
spiritual healing.
Mhm.
So I want to talk a little bit more about that. Like, so why is it, like the emotional wounds? Like, why is it that
Mhm.
healers, like nurses, doctors, people in healthcare, why do we tend to have that that or need that type of healing, like the emotional? Why do you think? Or why
Yeah.
have you seen that in your practice?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. First, I think it's multifaceted, but when you
Mhm.
think about a healer of any kind, a healthcare professional, you know, they were a human being before that. You were a whole
Girl,
human being.
look at my painting behind me. Can I see it? Like
What?
I'm a human being, not a superhero. I'm
Listen,
trying to get
come
it.
on. Period. I see it. Yeah, exactly. You are a whole human being. And what do human beings go through? You go through trauma, you go through life experiences, you go through disappointment, hurts, losses. You're a human. And so I like to say, even with healing the healer, we deal with the human behind the badge, like,
Mm,
or behind the cape, whatever you want to call it, right? And so that's one layer of it is before you were a healer, you were a whole human being. You were a whole person with your own set of issues and traumas and experiences that maybe you have not dealt with. And so, in
mm,
that, so now you got this human being, and y'all just roll with me for a second. So, you got this human being who may be already bleeding emotionally.
mm,
Maybe your mom wasn't there, maybe dad wasn't there, maybe they were there, but they were not emotionally available to pour into you. Maybe you lost a significant other. Maybe you experienced bullying or some sort of trauma that you have not dealt with that is causing you now to have different fears, different biases, different limiting beliefs. And so now, as a whole human being, I say, well, I'm a nurse now. Dun, 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 dun. It's all
ah,
better, right? I'm a nurse, so it's all going to be okay. In reality, you're bringing that same biases, limiting beliefs, and trauma and lenses, dirty lenses, onto, this new field. You didn't deal with it. You just covered it up. Because now I'm a nurse and I feel better about myself and it's okay because I'm
mm,
somebody now. And now I get to be a nurse and help other people. So that's going to make me feel better. But then because you haven't dealt with your own wounds before you became a nurse, now you get more wounds, right? You get
mm,
wounds from dealing with nurse bullies. You get wounds from dealing with other doctors. You get wounds from dealing with patients and their families. And then you get burnt out because you're pouring now and you're not pouring back into you. Because, like you said, many nurses pour into other people, but it's hard for you to ask for help. So now you burnt out,
mhm,
you're stressed out, your back hurt, and it's all this stuff happening. And so it's so many layers to it. And I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, but the reason that healers need to heal emotionally, is because a lot of times they're serving from a place of emotion. But then that
mm,
same place that you serve from begins to become numb,
mm,
and you
mhm.
become callous and you become hard-hearted in certain areas and your compassion fatigue gets on E. And so and you're not pouring back into yourself. So now you get nurses that become rude and angry and bitter and just that old mean, hey, how you doing type of nurse, and you start going through the emotions and the reason why you became a nurse gets lost.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Those I've experienced the jaded nurse,
Yeah.
and then we get our crazy sense of humor where you just I don't know if you've seen those memes like nurses can be harsh and that's just how they are. Like that's
Yeah.
just how they get on with life. That's just how
Yep.
they cope, like
Yep.
with the harsh jokes and being very cynical and and just becoming that jaded nurse. And it,
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks when you see a nurse switch, like when you see them flip.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you didn't get into this with that heart, with that
Right.
attitude. Something
Right.
happened. But I want to take it back to what you were saying about how you put on your cape, you graduate from nursing school, and you're like, oh, I got this. Like, I'm
Mhm.
good. Like, that just like you reading my journal right now. Like, you just reading my journal. I was so, and just, just to just bring it back, like,
Yeah.
I was so, and just to think about it, like,
Right.
and the work that I've done now, like, I was such a people pleaser. I was empty on the
Mhm.
inside. But
Mhm.
nursing was like, I get to prove myself now. Like, I get to make
Mm.
something of myself now. So you're hitting
Mm.
the nail. Like, I know I'm not the only one out there. Yes, it's a stable job. You get
Yep.
paid for it. But then there's people that get into it with those hurt hearts with that
Mhm.
need the healing, like you said.
Yep.
Like, you think, oh, if I help other people, then, oh, I can make something of myself. Then I'm good. Then I'm
Mhm.
okay. And
Mhm.
really, you end up just getting burnt out. You carry those same baggages with you to the
Yep.
next patient room, to the next situation. You don't have boundaries. You don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to,
Mm.
be part of a team. You don't know how to
Come on.
stand up for yourself. And so, and then you continue those same cycles. And
Yep.
then you just leave one workplace, hop from one workplace to the other. Just,
Yep.
oh, this keeps happening to me. It's them. It's them.
Yep.
But until I took ownership, until I
Mm.
was like, hey, Fallon, no more pity parties, sis.
Period.
It's time to pivot parties.
Yeah.
Like, let's go to pivot
Yeah.
parties. Like, how can I grow? Like, how can I change? What can I learn from this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's so amazing that you're hitting something right there with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, speaking to
Yeah.
me.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to just know like more about, how you do the work that you do. Like, how do nurses know when they're burnt out? Maybe they're like, yeah, I
Mm.
hear about this burnout, like, but what does it look like? Like, how does it show up? What's the risk that you run if you just
Mhm.
continue to operate on E?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the, I guess, there's a few signs, right? So, what we deal with when we deal with burnt out nurses and how you can know that you're burnt out is you are very irritable, right? And these
Mm,
are very practical signs. So, you become very irritable, and irritability looks like you can be very less patient and less tolerant of things. Things may not even be that big of a deal, but it's that big of a deal to you. And you just like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? You're very irritable, you're very impatient, and you lack kind of that passion that you once had before. So you notice your
mm,
passion starts to die out. You start to dread, going to work. You start to dread even doing the smallest tasks because you're becoming fatigued and you're tired, right? But you're forcing yourself to move past these feelings and you feel like it's just normal because I'm working, but in reality
mm,
you're becoming more and more drained. So you're irritable, right? You're losing your passion for things that you even like doing outside of work. You don't want to do that no more. You just want to sleep and you just want to eat.
mm,
You just want to do
mhm,
things that feel good, right? You don't want to.
mm,
And so those are two signs. Another sign is also isolation. So when
mm,
you notice you start to self isolate, and there's nothing wrong with having your me day, right? But when you start having me weeks and me months, that's a problem, right?
mm,
Because we need community and we need interaction with people to help us to continue to thrive and boost that serotonin. And so you start isolating yourself, which causes you even more depression, right? So then
mm,
depression creeps in because you're isolating yourself, and then you just start to feel all out of whack. You feel like, okay, I'm not even myself at this point. I don't even know
mm.
this person. I don't even recognize who I once was. And the reason I got in this field is now changing. And now I'm starting to resent the very same field that I once
Resenting.
loved. Yeah. And that's another sign of burnout is resentment. And that what you run the risk of, to answer your latter question, is now because your compassion fatigue tank is low, because you're irritable, right? Because you're resenting what you do, you're going into work and serving the people that you are committed to care for with this attitude and this low tank that is now causing you to dismiss patients, right?
Mm.
To become very irritable and short with patients and become what? Less compassionate and less empathetic. So what the patients are needing from you, you're no longer even able to give if you wanted
And
to.
those are our tools. That's what we use every
Mhm.
day.
Right. Because you can't even draw from your own weapons anymore because there you don't got no ammo, right?
Oh.
And so in that same way, similar to what happened to my cousin April,
Hmm.
then you can ultimately run the risk of losing a patient because you're
Yeah.
dismissive, because you start to, not even really pay attention and be empathetic if the patient is telling you they're in pain. So you start to dismiss, oh, girl, you overreact. It's not that serious, right? Because now you're
Hmm.
numb and you're callous
Oh.
because of what you've been going through. And so now you're projecting that onto the patients. And so those are some signs and things that can happen. And then you don't run assessments, you become lazy, right? I don't feel like
Hmm.
it, I'm resenting this. No, I don't feel like doing all that. Deal with it. It's not that big of a deal. And then your
Hmm.
patient, God forbid, can end up dying. And so this is how people end up in these situations. It's not this grand thing that just happens. It's a
Hmm.
gradual, slow, progressive process that begins to happen and begins to break you down. And then you end up and can potentially end up in situations like April's nurses and what you don't want. But those are
Hmm.
some signs that I've seen and things that could potentially happen.
Yeah, no, it does, like, it just speaks so much to me, and, like, when you're talking, I'm thinking about just, like, all the ways this shows up or how I've experienced and even
Yeah.
worked with different clients that I have coached with,
Yeah.
and, they experience it in different ways. Either you're just not able to do the self-care things, they're
Mm-hmm.
not able to make choices even sometimes, and for me personally, I got to this place where I was very just helpless. Like,
Mm.
and I was oversensitized. I was
Mm.
overly
Yep.
sensitized with everything. I felt everything. Everything affected me. The words my
Yeah.
patient says, the doctors, my coworkers,
Mm.
because I wasn't dealing with my own hurt and I was just
Yeah.
carrying it around. And
Yeah.
it was getting to that point where I was just trying to numb. So then I
Yeah.
was doing the things to numb. So I didn't
Yep.
feel. So I wouldn't feel. So I was the drinking, the going out, in and out of
Yep.
relationships, just trying to deal with the hurt. But God had something better. God had
Come on
something
now.
else for me. He
Yeah.
was like, something's got to change. And it was
Yeah.
my own mindset too. And I need to do something different. I'm tired of seeing these patients come in and out of the hospital,
Mhm.
the same cycles, diabetes, heart, blood pressure. Like, I need to do something as a nurse. I felt helpless as a nurse. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let me do health coaching. I went on this deep dive about like coaching and like how
Yeah.
to treat people with nutrition and fitness and mental health. And
Yeah.
while I'm starting to develop this business idea, my guy friend, the situationship, he
Mhm.
broke it off with me. And that was it. That was
Mm.
the tipping point. I was like at
Mm.
the end, at that was the tipping point. And so
Yeah.
from then it was nowhere but up. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, then I started putting into practice the wellness that I was
Yeah.
learning because I was coaching, wellness coaching.
Yeah.
So once I started to see how my life improved when I got into therapy, when I
Yeah.
started eating better, making time for sleep, making time for just the things that I loved, my self-care, a new idea of
Come
self-care,
on.
not just restrictive diets, not just
Right.
working myself out and punishing myself, but really taking care of myself. Once I
Yeah.
start to see that and started to work on my well-being, I felt that much motivated and that much more
Mm.
empowered to do the work. When I started to
Mm.
put myself first, I then got
Right.
that clarity. When I
Right.
started to prioritize me, I then had those light bulb moments like, oh, I want to help nurses do the same thing. We can
Right.
be powerful. We can do the work. We can be at the tables to
Right.
make the decisions. But in order to get there, I had to do the work first. I had to own it
Mm.
first. And so I've gone on this journey. And when I hear you speaking, it just comes to life in my mind. And I'm just like, I see the nurses, what they
Mm.
experience, what they're going through. And, maybe it takes that tipping point. What is that tipping
Mhm.
point? But the
Mhm.
thing is, you don't have to wait until then. You can start
Exactly.
doing the things now. You can start
Exactly.
listening to yourself now. And so I
Exactly.
want to know, like, what are the things that how are you helping your clients? Like, what are the
Mhm.
practical things? If someone's burnt out, or if they're on the edge of burnout, they're in this helpless mode, they're in this
Mhm.
irritability, they're in this, like, this almost burnt out, or they're in burnout, like, what are some tips you can give nurses to, like, maybe break out of that and break
Yeah.
free from that?
Yeah. A couple of practical tips in there. One of them is very unconventional, but I'll start with the first one. So the first thing is we help to identify what it is that you're actually feeling, because a lot of nurses and healthcare professionals don't even give themselves spaces to feel, right? Because I have to just keep going for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason, and I'm dealing with all these different type of issues and ailments, and so I don't even really feel like feeling, because that means that's
Mm-hmm.
so much deeper for me than just to feel. And so giving yourself that space to feel, and then identifying what it is that you feel, right? And then so you want to just practically write this down. Hey, take some time, 10 to 15 minutes. If you have it, you have to make it. And so,
You
and
have to
just
make it.
what do I feel? And sometimes you just gotta start writing. You don't even know how you feel. I don't know how I feel. I don't even want to
Mm,
do this. This is dumb. Why am I even doing this? I'm really sad. I'm hurt. Like, why do I, and so eventually it'll come out. And so, but you got to give yourself that space. And you really have to tend to the little girl or the little boy
mm,
within, because there was a little boy and an inner child, or, and all of us that is crying out for our attention. But a
mhm.
lot of times we muzzle that child because we feel like, well, if I open that up, then that means I have to deal with everything else. And you do, And so, but giving yourself that space, starting by giving yourself that space. I'm a big advocate and proponent of prayer. I'm a firm believer
Mm.
in Jesus Christ. And so that has been the key ingredient to my success and to a lot of my clients' success, because I pray over my clients. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to bat for you spiritually, because the Bible talks about how our weapons of our warfare is not against flesh and blood. This fight is not against people,
Mm.
right? But
Yeah.
against evil rulers of principality. So you got to fight spiritually. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
You got to have something bigger than yourself. And so for me, that was Jesus. Like, I had to get in my secret place. I had to, there's a quote that I just posted the other day. I'm in my bag, but I'm in my
I
Bible too.
saw that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Come
I'm in my
on.
Bible too, because if not even more, right? Really,
Mm.
I like to say healing is the real bag. Like, so
Mm.
many people are chasing the bag, the money, but baby, when you are healed, the money chases you. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
You are healed,
Yes.
relationships chase you, because you become
Mhm.
a person that you don't even recognize, and that really God created you to be. So you got to get in touch with who God created you to be and who God is. And you have to start reciting, biblical affirmations. It's cute to recite
Mhm.
affirmations, but I like to take the word of God and say, God,
Yes.
you said I'm more
Ye
than a conqueror. God, you said
yes.
I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. You said I
Mm.
can do all things through Christ Jesus. So power of life and death lies in the tongue. So once you identify what it is that you're feeling, what limiting beliefs or lies you are believing, you want to observe the truth and say, God, what do you say about me? And start to rehearse that truth every day. Get you 5 to 7 truths, and you can begin to repeat to yourself, I'm more than a conqueror. I will put sticky notes all around my house. Like, it would be on my cabinet, my refrigerator, wherever I was the most. You know what I'm saying? It would be on my mirrors, and just repeating the truth, because I was believing so many lies about myself, about the world around me. And then lastly, I would say something practically you can do is very unconventional, but I need you to forgive.
Mm.
I need you to forgive yourself. I need you to forgive other people. I need you to constantly live a life of forgiveness. What does that
Ooh.
do? Because a lot of times we don't recognize, but we're picking up weight that does not belong to us, offenses that does not belong to us. And so forgiveness looks like also releasing. There might have been
Mm.
5 things that triggered you that day. The patient called you out your name. One of the other patients swung on you. Another patient family member said this. Another nurse did this. You almost got in a
Mm.
car accident on your way home. So there's so many things that we go through every day that we're not recognizing that we have to release. God, I forgive myself for that. I blew it. I should have spoke up for myself. I should have advocated for my patient. I didn't
Mm.
do that. But instead of releasing it, we carry it with us. Oh, see, I'm doing
Yeah.
this now. but you gotta actively working on forgiving yourself and forgiving other people and letting it go and
Ugh.
not rehearsing those lies, because that is why a lot of us feel so heavy and so boggled down, because you've picked up so much weight, offenses, and hurt that you have yet to release.
Yes, that was so good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So much, so many good gems right there. And I feel like they're very practical. I feel
Yeah.
like it can be put into place right now. And my favorite, of course, just putting God first and
Yeah.
making him the priority.
Yeah.
That has been super, super pivotal to my journey as well. Like,
Yeah.
and it's kind of been like putting God first, learning to love the Lord, learning to love
Mhm.
God, really understanding his love for me. Not
Mhm.
just that he's out here trying to condemn me or
Right.
banish me or punish me, but
Right.
really understanding that there is a relationship that he wants to have with me
Yeah.
and accepting that, then I'm able to see myself the way he sees
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
as that conqueror, as wonderfully made, as
Yeah.
everything. When I'm
Yeah.
able to accept it, because I think I was telling you earlier, I had to deconstruct my faith. I grew up in
Mhm.
the church
Mhm. Come on.
and Pentecostal, all of the
Yep.
things, Assembly of God.
Yeah.
But there was very much a mindset of like, you gotta do good to be loved.
Mm.
You gotta
Yes.
act right to be
Yeah.
accepted,
Yeah.
versus this unconditional love that Christ extends, that God
Yeah.
extends to us.
Yeah.
And in that understanding, we no longer want to be separated from him. So
Yeah.
we're like, okay, I'm gonna get right. Like that's been my personal,
Yeah.
testimony. Like Lord, you did so much for me. You've changed my
Right.
life. I want to stay, and it's not like this punishment, condemnation relationship. Oh, you got to do good to be
Right.
accepted. It's like, no,
Right.
I am good. You are making
Period.
me good every
Period.
day. You are making me
Period.
more like you every day. So
Yeah.
that has been pivotal in my journey. And
And I
then
want
when
to
I,
add something really quick there, because I feel like that goes for a lot of us. And the one
oh
thing
yeah,
I teach my clients is to separate your worth from your works, and that's very challenging sometimes, but you have to be able to separate that you are not what you did. You are not what they said
mm,
about you. You are not what
ooh,
happened to you, right? And
mm,
this goes, there's a book that's called The Five Agreements,
oh
something like
yeah,
that.
I've
Yeah,
heard about it.
and
Yeah, yeah.
because don't take it personal. And I really like that. It's the only one really I remember. But he said, don't take it personal, because you have to know who you are and whose you are outside of
Ooh,
what you do. So either,
yeah,
I mean, you do good, that's great, but it doesn't make you like, oh, I'm just now this great person. You've been great outside of your works,
yeah,
right? You do bad. And a lot of times we take that same mentality. I did bad. I messed up. See, I'm a terrible nurse. I
yeah.
would never get it right. See, I should just quit nursing. I don't even think this is for me. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to be able to separate your worth from your works and know that, hey, I'm good enough because God says so. I am
Mm.
worthy. I am fearfully and wonderfully made, like you said, and all these other things, and standing 10 toes on that. But that comes with
Girl,
mental.
grounded. You have to be grounded out here.
Yeah.
Everything is fighting for your attention to
Yeah.
tell you you're not good enough, to tell
Yep.
you something about yourself. You need this to look that way, to be accepted, to be
Yep.
loved. So, being grounded in the truth
Yeah.
and what God says about me. His word
Period.
never changes.
Period.
And it's there for us. It's available to us. We can read this love story called the
Come on.
Bible, and it's right there for us to read and look
Period.
into every day. And so when I started doing that, reframing my negative beliefs, because I had a coach that was helping me,
Mm-hmm.
she was telling me how to reframe and then
Yeah.
replacing it with what
Mm-hmm.
the word says. Now that was a
Mm-hmm.
new one. And so I have it, just like you said, all over my room. As soon
Mm-hmm.
as I wake up, I'm reading it. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah.
So like now that I have this understanding, like, okay, God, love the Lord, love
Mm-hmm.
myself,
Mm-hmm.
love others.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been in that
Yeah.
kind of way, in that
Right.
order. Learning to love the Lord every day, love myself, and then I can
Mm-hmm.
love others, because I think sometimes we
Boom.
have it switched around,
Boom.
you
Yep.
know,
Exactly. We try to love others and we don't
is
even love
love others.
ourselves. And we don't even know what love is, and haven't really fully received the love of God. And so therefore it
Mm,
makes our love conditional. So when a patient
yes.
is good, I'll be nice. But when a patient is not so nice, then I'll be not so nice back. Right?
Yeah.
When that's not love.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And then to speak to you, what you said earlier, living that life of just forgiveness, like
Hmm.
self-acceptance,
Yeah,
self-compassion, like
there
that
it
is
is.
so important to like a giver. Like we give
Yeah,
not only physically, but we're
yeah,
giving emotionally. So
yeah.
having that in the mindset, in the back of your mindset, like, this, it's not just, based off of what I do, what I don't do. Like I'm a
Yeah,
good person. I'm loved.
yeah.
I'm chosen. I'm a child of God.
Let's go.
And really just like remembering that, having that in your mindset,
Yeah,
is so important to do the work that we're doing every day. And
yeah.
I ask my clients, my accountability group, every day, how are you prioritizing you today? What are you doing for
Mm,
your well-being?
I
Even if
like
it's
that.
one thing, like, how
Yeah,
are you prioritizing you?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask my nurse group that. I have a nurse group too. I think I'm gonna ask them that today. How are you
Yeah.
prioritizing you? Because that's very, and you just it can be practical ways. Saying no. That's a way that you prioritize you.
No,
Setting a
it's
boundary.
self-care too.
You saying no, 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 no.
No,
You
no.
know what I'm saying? Like, come on, no. Period.
And
So
it
that
don't
is a
mean you're
way.
mean, or it don't mean you're ugly. It don't mean that you're rude. It just means
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, and I find I'm gonna say this too because I feel led to share this in which a lot of healers, nurses especially, are pouring from a place of trauma. And hear me when I say this. You're pouring into people, serving and helping people because you know what it's like not to be cared for or to be
Mm,
rejected.
mm,
There's something that you resonate with serving people and loving people and being there for people, right? Because you know 9 times out of 10 what that feels like to not have
mhm,
that thing. And so
mhm,
many nurses are pouring from a place of trauma and you get burnt out because I'm pouring from this place and not giving myself that same energy, it it's depleting and it's draining, and it goes back to
mm,
that resenting the very same thing that you love to do. But when you pour from a healed place, you know then, hey, I'm worth this same love. I'm worth this
yes.
same pouring into. I am my first patient. You know what I'm
Ooh,
saying? And so I'm not treating myself the way others have treated me, but I'm treating myself the way I would like to be treated, and in
yeah.
turn treating others that same way.
Yeah. The same energy you put it into that patient, the
Yep.
same energy you need to be pouring into yourself.
Period.
Like we're trying to save, we're out here saving lives. We're out
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Anything, what you like, how can I
Right.
help you? You're at
Right.
your weakest, you're at your worst.
Right.
And the thing that I've noticed, just as an empathetic person myself, I
Yeah.
say like empath.
Yeah.
I've done this series where being a empath nurse, like just being
Mhm.
a feeler, you
Yeah.
know the room. And those are gifts that don't just come from you. Like you
Mhm.
feel the room. It's because this is a ministry, sis. Like
Mhm.
this is something we're doing to
Yep.
help others.
Yep.
And so you have these gifts, but when you come from an unhealthy, unhealed place, like you were
Yeah.
saying, like you're overextending, you're pouring from your perspective,
Yeah.
you're coming from your just from what you think and what you think needs to happen. So
Right.
it can be unbalanced. So when you are able to really just tap in and understand you more, you can then give from that full cup.
Yeah.
It's like this ministry that we're doing is so deep, y'all. Like
Yeah.
we're the hands and feet. And so I
Yeah.
love that you pray over your patients and that
Mhm.
you're giving them these tools. Like it's just it's awesome to see. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm gonna say it right now. I appreciate you
Come on.
for doing this.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I
For sure.
appreciate you and all the nurses on here, right? I don't think nurses get told enough. Thank you. Just thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your dedication, your selflessness. Nurses don't even go and pee and take their break because they too busy
Oh my
serving
God.
people.
See, that's one thing that I'm like, no, y'all, we got to take our breaks. You got to
Come
go drink your
on.
water.
Come
No,
on.
like, go
That's
make
not
time for your
okay.
breaks. It's
Right.
not okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so thank you. And every nurse under the sound of my voice, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for just your service and your sacrifice. And thank you for choosing to pour that same energy back into yourself. Because that's
Mm,
what's really, you want to do your patients a favor, you pour that same energy back into
yes.
yourself. Because that's what's
Yeah.
going to determine their level of satisfaction with you being that they experience the best you and not
Yeah.
your crumbs and your leftovers.
Oh no, we're not operating on crumbs. We're
Come
not
on,
operating on fumes no more. Like
come on.
that's just not it, y'all. Like it's not
Period.
okay.
Say no to
You don't have
crumbs.
to. You don't have to.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to. So I love that you're helping nurses in this way and just giving them the tools and helping them reframe and just giving them a
Mm-hmm.
community. Like what are some things that you have coming up? What are some things that you're working on
Mm-hmm.
that we can invite or we can be a part of the next
Yeah,
time?
good question. So obviously y'all can follow me on Instagram at the nurse healer, TheNurse healer, HEALER. Just to stay connected, stay tapped in with the content. I'm always putting out different content. But in addition to that, in about I want to say 3 weeks, we are starting our third cohort of Healing the Healer Accelerator. In this accelerator program, we go through things like renewing your mind, identifying your own trauma, releasing, forgiving, writing forgiveness letters. Yeah, we get deep in this program.
Mm.
Learning the power of your voice and advocating, overcoming people pleasing, overcoming the fear of
Ooh.
rejection. Like we deal with the deep things that many nurses don't really deal with in nursing school. But you get to deal with healing the healer in you. And so that is 12 weeks of intense healing only for nurses. And so only take about 5 to 7 nurses because it can be even a lot for me. So I got to keep that same energy
Yeah.
and not make sure I'm taking on too much. But it is an amazing program. I actually just talked to one of my clients before this, and she was just saying she's been with me for 9 months. And she says, man, like before this program, I didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know. But through the program, she's been able to set healthy boundaries. She's been able to use her voice. She's been able just to feel a sense of freedom that she hasn't felt in years, right? In years, and didn't know how it was going to
Mm.
happen. And so the program, I like to say, you really discover true identity beyond the badge and who you
Mm.
really are, and who God has created you to be. And so it is 12 weeks. I have people click the link in my bio typically and just apply. It takes like 60 seconds to apply. If we feel like it's a good fit, you then get an email, an invitation to a triage call. And then that triage call, we go over your submission and we talk about things that the program will cover and see if it's a good fit for you. And so that is for nurses. Again, that's starting in 3 weeks, but I tell people to apply ASAP. And then lastly, if you're not a nurse or if you're not ready for that type of healing, because it can be intense, I tell people to go to my course. I have a Get Unstuck and Live a Life You Love course. Very self-paced, you go at your own pace. The same content I teach in the accelerator is the same content that is in that course. But obviously it's a course, and so you watch the videos. It is over 20 videos from me based on my breakthrough secrets and strategies on how to effectively heal so you can live a life you love. It comes with a 20-page workbook and all of that good stuff. So that is what I have available right now. But stay connected because we also have our conference again next year that we just hosted this year that we'll be hosting next year. And I'm looking forward to making it bigger and better.
Yeah, that's amazing, y'all. And to live the life you love. As nurses,
Mm,
we're like, we operate on stress mode. We just burnt out. That's just what it is. That's just how it
right,
is. It does not have to be that way. Like
right.
Mykesha is sharing with us, you can choose a life of freedom, of acceptance, of
Yeah,
love. And it takes that self-responsibility
yeah,
to the ownership and
yeah,
that step. Like, I need help. I need
yeah,
accountability, and coming into community is a powerful way to do that. You don't have to do
yeah,
it on your own. You don't have to do it alone. And you
right.
have my Keisha's community as well as my community and the
Yeah.
nurse wellness community. There's different opportunities. Now, if you're seeing just the cynical, the things coming up, just those same jaded nurses that never get out of the cycle, maybe you need to change your circle and get
Mm-hmm.
into one of these communities and get
Mm-hmm.
breakthrough and get your freedom and
Come
get your
on.
self-care
Come
that
on.
you need, that you deserve, because you're out
Period.
here giving your best. You got into this purpose. You got into this profession because you had a purpose. So if
Yeah.
you find yourself drifting off, feeling lost, feeling stuck, feeling burdened, okay, let's reevaluate. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to, jump ship already.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I need to reevaluate. What am I
Yeah.
doing now? And
Yeah.
what can I do next to move
Yeah,
me forward to where I want to be, to get to that clarity,
exactly.
get to that breakthrough.
Come
Because
on.
I know personally, like when you do the things for your self care, for your health and healing, you're then able to see so much more clearer,
You
and then
are.
able to extend yourself and to impact
Yeah,
and to be that nurse on a
yeah.
mission. And I'm doing that myself
Come
right
on.
now. So
Yeah.
I praise God. To God be the glory. It's all been
Hallelujah.
a journey. It's been a journey and it continues. So I'm so glad that we've been able to have this conversation and just
Yeah,
how you're pouring into nurses, because we talked about what the risks you run. You can
yeah.
It can lead to a life of unhealthy, unhappy, burnt out, and
Mhm.
even worse, losing patience,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yep, exactly. And so I even thank you for creating this space for nurses and having these conversations. They need to be had a lot more. And so, and I thank you for the opportunity for me to even share kind of what we're doing over at Healing the Healer. And I know
Yeah.
God is just going to continue to accelerate, what you're doing, what we are doing for his people, because this is so much bigger than us. This is so much
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
bigger than nurses. This is about saving his people, right?
Mm,
Saving lives. And so, yeah, I just thank you for this
yeah.
space.
Yeah, for sure. And if we could just touch one person, if I could just touch one person, change
Come on now.
one life, that's enough. It's not about anything else.
Yeah.
Just making a difference, and the way that you're doing it and sharing your story along
Yeah.
with the recent things that just happened. I know you were sharing with us your personal testimony about like
Hmm.
things revealing as well. You know,
Hmm.
you run the risk of even
Yeah.
losing patience, even
Yeah.
becoming jaded. So it's bigger than us. We don't want to have a healthcare force that is jaded, that is just like stuck and out here. They're the ones healing and helping others. So we
Yeah.
want a breakthrough. We want to change things. I want to see healthcare change
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you guys want to follow the story that I
Yes.
mentioned earlier about April, you can follow that
Yes.
page at Justice, the number 4 in April. There we posted, things that we've been able to do to fight for justice, to bring justice for April, who lost her life unnecessarily at the hands of ill-equipped and unhealed healthcare professionals, which is part of the why of Healing the Healer. And so you guys can
Exactly.
follow that page as well. I also have a nurse group that's called the Healer's Haven on
Mm.
Facebook. And so you guys can join that as well to, get more exposure to other nurses and, to see what we're doing in there. And so, yes, I'm excited.
Thank you so much for just sharing your story and just all the impactful work that you're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you were able to share, what's going on and where we can find out the latest updates, because y'all been able to change some things, right? Like
Hmm.
before I let you go, I just wanted to just
Yeah.
get into that a little bit. Y'all been able to change some laws. I think y'all shut down a unit or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really it's just God. I'm gonna
Mm,
just say this. God don't play about his babies. He
amen.
don't.
Amen.
And stuff like this has been happening, unfortunately, at this particular hospital,
Mm,
Centinela Hospital. Stuff like this has been happening. But it took, unfortunately, losing April, because God
mm,
knew the people she had behind her that would be
yeah.
willing to stand up. I tell the people every day, I say, y'all picked the wrong right family. You know,
Mm,
um, because one, the wrong one, because my cousin isn't here and they dropped the ball on the wrong person. But two, it was the right person because you're not going to get away with it. So
yeah.
by the
Yeah.
grace of God, we've been able to get state officials involved, get a statewide investigation on the hospital, get a state investigation on the nurses, on the doctor involved. Centinela is now shutting down their maternity ward as of October 25th of this year, because they're no
Wow.
longer getting a lot of service, and just of the uproar we've caused.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to shut
Rightly
you down.
so. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so I just thank God, give all the glory to God, because when we are choosing to move, He has moved 10 times more for us,
Mm,
right? He has
mhm.
moved in ways that, we can't even move, been in rooms and discussions that we are not in. We just do our part, and God has done His. And, it's really inspired a movement across the world. And so I'm just honored to be a part of that, justice
Yeah.
for April.
Justice for April, and it deserves all the highlight that it's been
Yeah.
getting, and I just feel for you and your family right now. But the crazy thing is, someone like you that have experienced this, you could have taken this and went all the way left on nurses, but you was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
we gonna get rights by
Mm-hmm.
nurses. Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna, something needs to get better, and you used
Yeah.
it as
Yeah.
a way to fuel your passion and your purpose
Yeah.
forward. And that's only God, like you've been
Only
saying.
God.
That's
That's what I
only
was gonna
Him.
say. It's only God. Cause I was mad. I ain't gonna cap.
Mm,
I was mad. I was like, God, what's up? How you gonna call me to serve
yeah,
nurses and the same nurses failed my cousin? Like she should
yeah,
be here. Like that wasn't even my cousin, my sister. Like, you got
yeah,
this cousin that you just grow up with that they your siblings more or less. And so that's what April was to me. I just talked to her, right? I just prayed with her. I'm like, what you mean she ain't make it? That don't even make sense. The math don't math. And so,
yeah,
but I know God creates his biggest um kind of purpose in our life through the biggest tragedies. And
yeah.
so, yeah, being
Purpose
able
through the
to have
pain.
that mindset from him that he's given me to say, okay, what can we do to fix it? Because I could be mad, I could sulk, I could be pissed off, you
Mm,
know, um, or I can allow this energy, this pain to fuel me and to do something
yeah,
and to help those same people heal and to continue the work, right? He been
yeah,
told me before April passed, but when April passed, it just made sense. And so I was like, this is the why. Okay,
yeah.
I got it. Now it's personal. It wasn't personal at
Mhm.
first. It was like, yeah, nurses are in bad shape. They need help. So I can help them.
Mm,
But now it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're in bad shape and it's causing people to die. And your sister just died because of it. So
mm,
here's your why. Thank you. You know.
mm.
So yeah.
It's unfortunate that it happened that way. And I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'm so sorry
Yeah.
for the way this came about. Like you said, just the burnt out nurses that came to light from the investigation, the things that
Yeah.
could have been avoided, and
Yeah.
that's what it's even more monumental. The work that we're doing,
Yeah.
that this doesn't happen again, that this does not have to happen ever.
Right.
There are
Right.
things that we can do, and nurses are at the forefront of that, to be the preventative in
Yeah.
the spaces that they're at.
Yeah.
When you get to that burnt out place, you feel even more helpless and you're like, I can't do anything. I can't change. No, that's the opposite. That
Right.
is not
Right.
why you're here. You're
Right.
here for a reason. So
Yeah.
stand up, own it, and do the healing and the help that you need already.
Right.
Get yourself right so
Yeah.
that things like this doesn't happen again. It is preventable. Things can change, and,
Yeah.
and we can start. The change that we want to happen with others first starts within ourselves.
Yeah. And one
So,
way you need healing, similar to what we were talking about before, but even if you're not burnt out yet, but maybe you're seeing in yourself like those other nurses who served April that night, they were
mm,
afraid to call the doctor, you know, like
that's a
we
good
talked
one.
about before. They were afraid to call the doctor. So that means that you were people pleasing,
Mm,
and that is a sign that you need to heal.
hmm.
What or who has made you feel like your voice is invalid? You know,
Yeah.
Obviously, for whatever reason, those nurses felt that and they were afraid of the doctor. Sounds like the doctor had their own issues, right?
Yes.
And being a bully. And so, but as a nurse, it is very, very important, and your voice matters probably more than many other voices in that room because you
Yeah.
are part of your patient advocacy. And so, those
Advocacy.
nurses,
We are the advocates.
yeah, those nurses didn't really advocate for April. They were afraid. Is the
Mm,
doctor gonna cuss us out if we keep calling the doctor? So guess what? April lost her life. Didn't run
mm,
any assessments, just told her that her pain was normal, dismissed her, and so I don't think they thought April was gonna die that night. Um,
mm,
but as a result of their carelessness and them being ill equipped and unhealed, somebody lost their life. And now they
yeah.
have to face the consequences of that when I'm sure they did not intend that at all, but
Wow.
they will be held accountable.
Yes. And like you said, that the advocating, the speaking up, like that's something we hold the oath to. We did our oath. Like, we will
Yeah.
advocate for our patients. We will stand up. We will do no harm. And so when you get to that place where, and I've been there, where I've been afraid to call the doctor, like, oh, that's his problem. He's mean. No, there's something in you that you
Mm.
need to take responsibility, that you
Come on
need to
now.
take ownership of. Like,
Yep.
this is my job. Like, anything, trust yourself.
Yep.
Anything. Trust who you are. Trust your assessment. Trust that even feeling like something ain't right. That's why
Yeah.
we're there. So we
Yeah.
can be their eyes. We know what
Hmm.
to do. We know what to do. We gonna call you to tell you and then tell you what else you need to do. Just give me the order.
Period.
You know?
Period. Period.
And so I just feel for the whole situation. It was
Yeah.
terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But there is
Yeah.
a change that we can do now. There is
Come
something
on.
that we can learn from this now.
Come on. That's why we healing the healers, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Man, we could go on, Mykesha. I
Right.
so appreciate you. I just want
Yes.
to say, oh man, the things that you opened up and just were like speaking to. I'm like, man, thank God for this
Yeah.
ministry that you have, that you're pouring into others, and that you're standing up for the most trusted profession
Hmm.
out there.
Yeah. Come on.
We are
I
the
love
most
that.
trusted profession. So pouring into us, it's going to improve society, it's going to improve communities, it's going to improve
Hmm.
families, this work that we're doing. So, God bless you and all that you're doing, all
Thank
that
you.
you're helping to you and your family. My condolences, and
Thank
just,
you.
justice for April. I'm supported all the way.
Come on.
And yeah, I look forward to hearing more about everything that you have going on. And I'm going to the next brunch, y'all. Let's do it. Let's just all make
Pull
a trip
up.
up out to
Pull
California.
up to the West Coast. You know what I'm saying?
Ah,
Come on. West Coast, the best coast. Period.
ah. Yes, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. All right,
Yeah.
friends. I appreciate you. Any last words as we wrap up this
No,
episode?
man. If this anything resonated with you,
Mm,
just get the help that you need.
yeah.
You know, don't wait till it's too late, till you're on your last breaking point, because not only could this affect the patient, but it could affect you. Nurse suicide rate is
Mm,
at the highest it's ever been, you know. And so
yeah.
if you resonate with any of this, reach out to myself, reach out to Fallon, get you a therapist, get the help that you need so that you can really heal and be who God has created you to be. Many times
Mm,
we feel like, dang, I'm not really living out this life fully, because we know that there's something that's internally wrong that we
mm,
have yet to deal with, and we don't know where to start. Start
mm,
and get you some help so you can accelerate the process. I wish I had a coach, right? God was
mm.
my coach. It was me and God, you know. And so
Oh,
what I found is that coaches really, as I'm sure you can attest to, accelerate the process,
yeah.
accelerate your
Yeah.
healing, you know, as a coach, and you
Coaches.
having your own coach.
We pull it out. We not just out here just strict, get on your burpees and journal all
Right,
day and just meal prep. No, like we
right.
pulling out the greatness. We're helping
Yeah,
you along in this, and that's why I love coaching so much. And it's just like
yeah,
partnership, y'all. Like,
yeah.
so get you a coach if you need help. Like, help doesn't mean weak. Help means like I'm aware. I know I need to
Hmm.
work on some things. Like, and
Hmm.
that's amazing too. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, friend.
So, amen. Thank you for having me. Thank y'all. Follow your girl at the Nurse Healer. But yeah, I'm excited for what's to come.
Yes, yes, ma'am. All right, friends. We will let Mykesha go, and we appreciate you for showing up and showing us You Glow's podcast. And we will see you next time. We're gonna have a next time. This
Come
conversation
on.
will continue. Thank you,
Period.
friend.
Bye.
Bye. All right, y'all. It's been too real having Mykesha on. I so appreciate all the wonderful gems she just left us. It's been a season 4 has been a blast, just talking about purpose, getting back on track. How do we redefine, restore our purpose as nurses so that we can do the impactful work we're meant to do? God called us here. What is the purpose? What is the passion behind it? And it happens. If you fall off track, you don't have to do this thing alone. Like we've been sharing, there is community, there is resources, but it's up to you to take that responsibility, not in a way to bully yourself, not in a way to push yourself down. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Acceptance, that forgiveness Mykesha was talking about. Acceptance, forgiveness, and then love. Making way for the love. Y'all, it's been too real. I will leave all the show notes, the links in the show notes below. So make sure you go check it out. And don't forget to get Latinas in Nursing book out now so you can more inspirational stories of trust and compassion for nurses. Y'all, it's been too real. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the You Learners Podcast. Bye.